Before anything starts, I would like to clarify this video is for closure for me. It's not for malice or hatred or whatever. I mean, yeah, it was the original plan, let's be honest here, because I was very upset at the time. But honestly, over time, I've decided to make this video more for closure for me, and that it would be something to help me get over all the bullshit that I had to deal with. There's also a little bit of a trigger warning because of some stuff, like self-harm and, like suicidal shit and all that. So just so you know at the beginning. So yeah, if you're not good with that stuff, then obviously get on out of here. I also want to claim that most people in the story will not be named because I do not want to expose certain people when they did nothing that was too extreme compared to two other people. There are two people who will be named because they're a piece of shit. And my one friend said, "You can name me if you want because they don't care because we're good." So also, I'm gonna do this with like a minimal editing, probably just have some background gameplay and stuff in the background. But most of the screenshots and stuff will probably just be in the description and just linked. So yeah, you can just go find it there. So to start this off, we gotta start from the beginning. How I met these people, aka Cat and Void, who are the main people of this video, or Adam, as I will sometimes call him, and sometimes in this, so you don't get confused. How did I meet them? Well, I met them through a friend of a friend, basically, because I found them through a streamer that I will not name because I doubt they want to be involved in this. And we met and we hit it off a little bit. Like, I met them and then I kind of like disappeared for a few months and I was like, you know what, fuck it. Let's hang out with this person. And we actually hit it off pretty cool and we were friends for a while. Let's be honest, I joined in at like the worst time because there's this whole drama going on in the background that I had no idea about because I was new there. Obviously, they didn't want to scare me away or whatever. And well, I found out about it and I was told two different sides of the story that were very, very different. And in my opinion, I believed the person who had two different people obviously talking about it instead of the one person just talking about it. Because two versus one, obviously you'd believe the person with more people on their side, and then they had screenshots that, now that I look at it, like weren't the best evidence and they were kind of out of context and stuff. But I believed them and basically treated someone like they were basically the insane person, which karma will bite me in the ass here later on in this story, just so you know. Just keep in mind that this main thing that happened before I joined the group, basically, and as I was like just getting situated with the group, was apparently a big trauma for Cat and Void, just so you know. Just to keep that in mind for the future stuff that happens. Also, in this time, I met someone named Kiwi, my friend currently. But we've had many fallen in and outs and all of our own issues over time where we have a little arguments about stupid shit and then it causes us to take breaks for a couple months or whatever. This one was like almost a year, but we're good now and they will be important to the story later too. Now that we got all the background bullshit out of the way, let's get into the main meat and potatoes of this whole video and the main drama and then the fallout of the drama that happened. So, I met someone in their group on, what was it, November? It was around November, and we were playing DBD, and I met them because I was playing Killer with my friend at the time, and they were Survivor. They were like a full 8-man because it was 2v8. And we hit it off pretty quick. I did the same thing I kind of did with the other group where it was like, oh yeah, we have this whole cool group thing, and I kind of like joined and then did not answer them for like like a week or two. I was like, I'll wait a little bit because of what happened last time, and then I ended up hitting them up and talking to them, and I think it was in my Arc Raiders video is when we like first hung out and stuff. But yeah, me and the one person in the group hit it off pretty well. We were basically like hanging out constantly and doing everything together basically. And well, I have a little side tangent here where I have a very like fucked up personality. So whenever I have someone who's like always wanting to hang out and is like, "Hey, let's hang out, let's hang out, let's hang out," blah blah blah, I end up getting like super attached to that person. That's one of the main reasons why I had issues with Kiwi in the past, is because I got like super attached to them and I was like constantly wanting to hang out with them and just them and not some other people who were kind of I didn't like. I'm not gonna name them here because obviously that's some bullshit. But uh basically what would happen was I would see them like hanging out with me, and then they would hang out with other people and then kind of ignore me, and then that kind of made me feel like shit and all that, and it obviously wasn't a good thing for my mental because I kept thinking like, oh, I'm basically being replaced. I'm kind of just like the sidelines guy now or whatever, and it was not very good mentally for me, and they knew this every step of the way because I kept telling them because of stuff in my past and all that other stuff that it just felt like I was basically being thrown away. This is why I usually try to stick to myself whenever I hang out with people and try to keep my distance from people because obviously I have this weird like clingy personality to where like if I find someone I really vibe with, I want to like always hang out with them and just them. So it was a very unhealthy relationship. And keep in mind at the time, this person, well, they still do, they have a boyfriend, and we would always talk about very, very sus stuff that I'm pretty sure normal people in a relationship would not talk about. Like her asking me what my dick size was, which is kind of weird to ask someone who you're not dating or like in relationships with. It's just kind of weird, and apparently he uh was cool with all this according to her, which was just strange to me. But then things got really strange around January. It was around the 8th, I believe, was the actual date. So stuff happened with her grandma recently, and then I was in this shitty mood because of the basically people replacing me thing. I'm not using an excuse, I'm just explaining it. And I kinda convinced her to do stuff even though she was already really upset. I was like, oh, just forget about everything basically and just do shit. And she almost went fully all the way. The only reason why she stopped is because her phone died. And I will stick by that story because she literally said it while on call with like 7 people. Basically, she was sending me stuff while hiding her cam, and she was apparently feeling really guilty about it afterwards, but was not guilty at the time. And I took the full blame for that because obviously she was already down the dumps, and I was an asshole for that 100%. And I stand by that. I was a dickhead for trying to make her do shit when she's already like an emotional mess. And yeah, we'll go from there. Keep in mind, after all that happened, I basically was telling her I felt guilty about it and I wanted to tell her boyfriend because I felt like a piece of shit for doing that to her when she obviously had a man. And that went on for quite a while. That went on for like a week straight where I just kept telling her, like, can I tell him? Because it makes me feel like a piece of shit for doing that without telling him. And she kept telling me no. And she would say, like, for quote unquote, that she would not forgive me if I told him that that happened. And then you know how I told you that we agreed to not do or talk about like any sexual stuff. So not even like 4 days later, she comes to me and basically is trying to do stuff with me, and I keep telling her multiple times like, yo, stop that because we agreed not to do that because it makes me feel weird, and it just isn't right to do to your man because obviously like, it's not cool if he doesn't know. And if he was cool with it and he knew about it, then I'd be like, all right, sure, down. I'm down, like 100% bet. If he's cool with it, then I'm sorry, I had a little joke in there, but uh, so she basically convinced me to do shit that time, and then I kept asking her afterwards. I was like, why did you want to do that if you were so guilty about it the first time? And she kept telling, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Blah blah blah. I'm like, well, we need to talk about it because if there's anything that's like feelings wise, obviously it's like you gotta tell me because you gotta tell your man this because obviously that will cause issues with the group and everything, and I don't want to cause issues with the group. I want to clarify before I say any of this that Jay knew everything that was going on with me mentally during this time and would basically just ignore it for the most part and just be like, "Oh, it's fine, nothing to worry about." Blah blah blah. It's like, well, that doesn't help me. That doesn't help me when I'm feeling like shit. But basically, I got to the point where the guilt was basically making me want to hurt myself and basically not want to be here anymore because I felt like a piece of shit for doing that to him. And the reassurance did not help me at all. And they knew that I felt like this and everything, and they basically just went like, "Oh, blah blah blah, don't tell him, don't tell him, or whatever." And what's funny is this whole time where she keeps telling me not to tell him or anything, he actually knew the entire time. Spoiler alert for the little fallout that we have later. But he apparently knew the entire time, and she basically told me not to tell him because she was trying to twist the story at the time to make it seem like it was just all of me and nothing with her. And you know what's funny? Every time I asked, like, if you knew, why didn't you say anything? Or I asked her, if he knew, why didn't you tell me? Because you knew how I was feeling at the time, and you know that would have definitely helped me if he would have told me, like, hey, he already knows everything, so there's no issue. But she decided to just keep it secret, I guess, because she was obviously trying to twist shit in the background to make it sound like it was just all me, basically. Keep in mind, I'm a trust issue maniac, so like I saved and screenshotted a lot of these messages, and then I tried to show him that this was the case, and he basically tried to say, oh, these are all out of context, even though like any normal person would know this is not something you talk to someone like you're friends with and all that stuff. It's just like you don't send pictures like that to someone and all that. And he basically ignored it. And I don't fault the dude. He's just an idiot overall. Like, I fucking love the dude. I still to this day don't hate anything about him. The only thing I hate is that he's just so blind to the bullshit because he just wants to believe the best for in his girlfriend, obviously, like, which is normal. But like, dude, it's like when people are trying to tell you something's wrong, like, you gotta listen, bro. Oh, and then I had her friend at the time, Damien. I will name drop him because I mean it doesn't really matter at this point because we're not gonna be friends. He basically tried to say like, "Oh, she didn't mean any of that shit at all," and like he's like, "I have all these messages and stuff, like I can see all the proof and everything." I'm like, "Okay, well, show me what you can see." And after I asked him to show me, he's like, "Oh, my mom's calling me." I'm like, "Your mother is calling you at fucking like 3 a.m. Come on, dude." And then I was like, "All right, let me know after." He's like, okay, okay. And then the next morning I find out I'm fucking blocked. I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought. So he was just trying to make up shit to cover for her or him or whatever and basically try to get me to be quiet about it, which was like fucking hilarious to me at the time. All right, with that basically wrapped up, let's get into the final story, the most interesting one in my opinion, about Kat and Void, which we talked about a little bit earlier, who were friends of friends, and basically we stayed together after some fallout with the old friend where they claimed that they were basically like a lunatic and all this other stuff. So before anything, whenever the fallout happened with me and the boyfriend and Jay, I said to them, I was like, yo, we'll leave them. And then I was like, I've waited like a day later and I was like, you know what? Let me message them. I was like, you know what? Can you at least let my friends stay because they didn't do shit wrong? And it would feel like a dick move to bring them with me whenever they obviously like, they obviously like them too. So I was like, whatever, you guys do whatever you want. And obviously I was telling them I was cool with it, so they hung out every now and then for a little bit. And I would like to clarify right now before they try to twist this later on, I had no issues with them playing with them, and I was completely fine with them playing with them. The issue is that as the time went on, they basically started to ignore me more and more, and then started to ghost me more and more, and then started to hang out with them more. Then the reason they tried to claim that they didn't want to hang out with me was apparently I broke Cat's trust or some bullshit, even though like it it was literally me sending a message to someone else because I was trying to prove the point that hey, there was some sus stuff going on and it just didn't feel right to me. And the cat agreed with it, and I was like showing them. I was like, "See, I'm not the only one who feels this way." And they were like, "You broke my trust by showing them my messages." I'm like, "You didn't say I couldn't show them." Like, what? Hello? Like, you know how many times I've shared your messages and you've shared my messages. It's kind of normal at this point for us. Keep in mind at this time I like messaged them like every other day to like hang out and all this stuff. I was like, hey, you guys want to hang out? You want to hang out? And blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, we're busy right now. And then I literally look and I see they're hanging out with the other group. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. You could have just told me you're hanging out with them instead of saying you're busy, you know? And it was just all that bullshit. Keep in mind, this went on for about like 2 weeks of me asking them to hang out and basically getting nothing. And then apparently breaking trust when I wasn't even there. Like, fuck if I know. And then Kat later on tried to say that I told people other shit, and it was just a giant mess, honestly. This is basically me summarizing the rest of the story because this is getting way too long at this point. It's almost 15 minutes. And basically, at one point, I got sick of them kind of like putting me off to the side and told them, I was like, are we gonna fucking hang out or what? Like, I'm getting sick of this bullshit. And they're like, oh, yeah, sorry, we'll make plans for it. I'm like, the issue of me having to get pissed off for you to actually make plans with me is a fucking issue. And I was like, never mind about hanging out because I'm fucking over that shit. Because dude, you make people wait 2 weeks to hang out. I tell them, I'm like, let me know when you want to hang out. And they basically never let me know when they want to hang out. And it's just like, even though like I told them like every fucking 3 days or something to like, hey, let's hang out sometime. And they're like, oh, yeah. Blah, blah, blah. It was just awful, dude. It felt like I was just being toyed with, basically. And they just didn't want to actually be friends anymore at this point. And then the day I called them out on their bullshit, they basically tried to claim that, oh, we're not choosing sides, blah blah blah. We're still friends with you and all this stuff. It's like, why would I keep you around if you obviously aren't friends with us or whatever? And it's like, because you don't want me to hurt myself because you already know I'm mentally unstable right now because of all this other shit that was going on. And oh yeah, side thing I forgot to say. Kat wanted to stop talking to me because apparently I traumatized her or brought up her trauma or some bullshit because of me talk about hurting myself and stuff. And I guess that reminded her of the other person from the beginning, where they claimed that they were like hurting themselves and stuff and all this other bullshit. And it was just like, okay, it's like you're the one who told me to tell you like how I'm feeling on shit and to vent to you and stuff. And whenever I vent to you, now you're like, okay, I can't handle it. Go the fuck away, basically. Long story short, though, with the whole argument that we had that day, they basically admitted, or at least Void did, that they enjoy hanging out with the other group more, and said basically that they're gonna do what's fun for them. So they were basically lying to me the whole time, and basically did choose a side. They just didn't want to tell me that they did. And then the week later, around the 10th, I believe it was, of this month, currently February, basically I ranted on stream about how they were treating me and stuff, and they apparently did not like this, but I already at this point told them like, hey, you have until this time to talk to me about it or I'm done, because I'm sick of the like going back and forth shit for about 3 weeks straight, and it was starting to piss me off. They tried to claim, oh, you're lying about all this bullshit, like none of that's true, and it's like, what the fuck, and all this other bullshit. And it's just like, brother, you know damn well I wasn't lying about any of that, and that's how I felt in all the situations and how I was in all the situations, but you didn't decide to talk to me about it because someone likes to lie and make themselves look like the victim the entire time. Because that's the one thing I noticed with Kat. Every time something happens, she ends up being the victim of it and never the problem for it, you know? Recording this a bit later, so I'm a little bit more awake, but I found out that their quote unquote trauma that they talked about oh so much was not even actually fucking real. So they basically lied to my face multiple times on multiple occasions, trying to say that they had this quote unquote drama or like trauma that they carried or whatever, and I just found out that it wasn't true like a few days ago, and I was like, nah, fuck that. Also, during this time, I found out that they tried to message Kiwi, my friend, who I just recently made up with, and tried to show her a bunch of DMs of me when it was like after the fact of me and her no longer being friends or whatever. They tried to basically ruin that by sending her a bunch of messages of me talking shit whenever I was obviously still upset about the subject and everything. And I already told her all these things basically, and they tried to just like throw me under the bus basically to try and make me look like a piece of shit so they would also leave me, which is just like, it just shows the type of scumbag you are. So I'm gonna do a little petty thing here because, you know, if we're gonna be trying to claim that I'm telling people secrets about shit and all that, how about I share some of my own that I know? Since obviously, you know, I'm such a piece of shit and I can't keep my mouth shut on certain things. Alright, let's start with number one. Remember when you were basically trying to get nudes from Jade to send to me, basically, and you were on board with trying to get nudes from her just to send them me? Yeah, what about that one? Alright, what about the one where you told me Void's girlfriend's real name, and then also the fact that you told me that they have like some weird cuck fetish or something? Yeah, I didn't tell him about that either, did I? So there's a lot of stuff that I have that I could have told people about and snitched on you about, but I decided to not tell people shit like that because I'm not an asshole like you. But sorry, whenever you try to ruin friendships for me, I'm gonna fight back with everything I got too. I got a lot more in the chamber too, but hey, that's in case they try to do some bullshit payback or anything like that, you know? Alright, this video is going on way too long anyway, but yeah, that's basically all the bullshit I had to deal with for the past like month and a half at this point, and I wanted people to know because obviously I want to do it to get over it and obviously to show how they're fucking horrible people, and if anyone from the group obviously watches this, then well, yeah, there you go. You know, you know the things that I know now, and obviously all that.